Hey, welcome to my little corner of YouTube. This is where I share things I enjoy, moments from life, and content that hopefully makes your day a little better. If you like relaxing, real, and relatable videos, don't forget to subscribe and stick around. I heard my wife laugh before I heard the words. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I'd come home early from a fishing trip because the rain turned sideways and even the bass weren't stupid enough to stay out in it. I walked through the garage, boots still muddy, and stopped at the kitchen door because Claire was on the phone with her sister and she was using that voice. The one she reserved for gossip and secrets and things she didn't want me to know about. He has absolutely no clue, she said. Honestly, Vanessa, the man can barely remember where he put his car keys. You think he's going to figure out the baby isn't his? Please. I stood there with my hand on the doorknob, mud dripping off my boots onto the concrete step, and the whole world just stopped. Like someone hit pause on reality and forgot to tell my heart, because that thing was slamming against my ribs so hard I thought she might hear it through the door. No, I'm not telling him. Why would I? He makes good money. He's reliable. He loves being a dad. Let him think what he wants. It's better for everyone. She laughed again. My wife laughed about it. I stepped back into the garage, sat down on an overturned bucket next to my workbench, and stared at the wall for I don't know how long. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. My hands were shaking, but the rest of me was completely still, like my body was trying to figure out which part of me was supposed to break first. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 42 years old. I'm a structural engineer in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been married to Claire for 8 years. And apparently, the 14-month-old boy sleeping upstairs in the nursery. I painted myself the one with the little blue elephants on the walls because Claire said elephants symbolize good luck. That boy might not be mine. I didn't confront her that day. I know that sounds weak, and maybe it is, but I'm not the kind of man who reacts before he thinks. I build bridges for a living. You don't build a bridge by guessing. You calculate loads, you run stress tests, you account for every variable before you pour a single yard of concrete. So that's what I did. I calculated. First thing Monday morning, I ordered a paternity test online, one of those discreet ones where you swab the inside of the kid's cheek and mail it in. I did it while Claire was at her Pilates class and Owen was napping. I stood over his crib holding that little cotton swab and looking down at him, and I swear he smiled at me in his sleep. He had these fat little cheeks and a dimple on the left side, just like me, or maybe just like whoever his real father was. I mailed it that afternoon, and then I waited. 13 days. 13 days of sitting across the dinner table from my wife, asking her how her day was, kissing her goodnight, changing diapers, warming bottles, pretending everything was fine when everything was on fire. The results came back on a Thursday. I opened the envelope in my truck during my lunch break at a construction site on the south end of the city. I already knew what it was going to say. I'd spent 2 weeks preparing myself, but reading the words still hit me like a steel beam to the chest. Probability of paternity, 0%. Zero. Not a maybe, not a slim chance, not even a rounding error. 0. I sat in that truck and I cried. I'm not ashamed to say it. I loved that boy. I loved him from the second they put him in my arms at the hospital. I was the first one to hold him. I cut the cord. I was there for every feeding, every 3 a.m. Wake up, every doctor's appointment. I taught him to wave bye-bye. I was his dad. And none of it was real. That night I went home and acted normal. I played with Owen on the living room floor while Claire made dinner. She was humming something, happy as could be, and I watched her move around the kitchen and tried to figure out who she really was. Because the woman I married wouldn't do this. The woman I fell in love with at that barbecue in Myers Park. The one who spilled sweet tea on my shoes, and then insisted on buying me new ones even though they were $10 flip-flops. That woman wouldn't look me in the eye every single day and lie. But she did, so I didn't know her at all. I called a lawyer the next morning. Buddy of mine from college, Tom Kessler, family law specialist in Raleigh. I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Danny, are you sure you want to go down this road? Because once you start, there's no going back." "I'm sure," I told him. "I've never been more sure of anything." He laid out the options. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, not community property. Adultery matters. If I could prove the affair, it would significantly impact alimony, and given that I was the higher earner, that mattered a lot. He told me to document everything. So I did. I'm an engineer. Documentation is what I do. Over the next 6 weeks, I became the best detective in Mecklenburg County. I found the text first. She'd been sloppy about it, using her regular phone, just deleting the conversations. But she didn't know about cloud backups. His name was Ryan Hollister. He was a personal trainer at the gym Claire went to 3 times a week. She'd been seeing him for over 2 years. 2 years. Owen was conceived right in the middle of it. I saved everything. Screenshots, timestamps, phone records. I even hired a private investigator. Tom recommended one, and within 2 weeks, the guy had photos, hotel receipts, the whole thing laid out like a case study in betrayal. Through all of this, I kept being a husband and a father. I made breakfast on Saturdays, I mowed the lawn, I gave Owen his baths, I went to Claire's mother's house for Sunday dinner and smiled when her mother told me what a wonderful family we were. It was the hardest performance of my life, but I had to wait. Tom said timing was everything. Then something happened that I didn't plan for, something that changed everything. I was at the hardware store on a Saturday afternoon. I'd been building a deck in the backyard, partly because I needed the project and partly because swinging a hammer kept me from losing my mind when I heard a commotion in the parking lot. A girl, maybe 14 or 15, was standing next to a beat-up Honda Civic, yelling at a man who had his hand clamped around her arm. She was thin, dark-haired, wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too big, and she was scared. You could see it in her eyes even from 30 feet away. "Let go of me," she was shouting. "You're not my dad. You don't get to touch me." The man, thick neck, bloodshot eyes, reeking of beer even from a distance, jerked her arm hard enough that she stumbled. "Get in the car, Lily. I'm not asking again." Nobody in the parking lot was doing anything. 5 or 6 people were just standing there, looking at their phones, pretending they didn't see it. I'm not built for that kind of thing, standing by, I mean. I'm 6'2", 220, and I spent 4 years on the offensive line at NC State. I walked over. "Hey," I said. Not loud, not aggressive, just hey. The man looked at me. "Mind your business, pal." "I would," I said, "but you're hurting a kid in a public parking lot, so I'm making it my business." He let go of her arm. She immediately stepped behind me, which told me everything I needed to know about their relationship. Kids don't hide behind strangers unless the people they know are worse. "She's my stepdaughter," he said. "This is a family matter." "Doesn't look like much of a family from where I'm standing," I replied. He took a step toward me. I didn't move. I just looked at him the way I look at a cracked foundation, assessing the damage, calculating how much pressure it would take to bring the whole thing down. He must have done his own math because he stopped, muttered something I won't repeat, got in his car, and drove off. I turned around. The girl was standing there with tears streaming down her face, trying not to cry and failing at it. "You okay?" I asked. She shook her head. "He's going to come back." "Where's your mom?" "At work. She works at the Waffle House on Independence. She won't be off until midnight." "And she's okay with this guy being around you?" The look she gave me was the most tired expression I'd ever seen on a teenager's face. "She says he's better than the last one." That sentence just about broke me. Not because it was dramatic or shocking, but because she said it so matter-of-factly, like she'd accepted it as her reality. Like this was just what life was. "I'm Daniel," I said. "You want to sit somewhere safe until your mom gets off work?" Her name was Lily Vasquez. She was 15. Her mom, Rosa, had been through 3 boyfriends since Lily's biological father left when she was 6. The current one, Glenn, had never hit her yet, but the grabbing, the yelling, the control, it was escalating. Lily went to school when she could, but her grades were falling because she couldn't focus when she was afraid of what was waiting at home. I bought her a sandwich at the Panera next to the hardware store, and she talked for 2 hours straight. Not because I asked her to, but because I think nobody had listened to her in a very long time. When she finally ran out of words, she looked at me and said, "Why are you being so nice to me?" "You don't even know me." "Because someone should be," I said. I drove her to the Waffle House to meet her mom. Rosa was small, exhausted, and immediately suspicious of a strange man bringing her daughter to work. I didn't blame her. I gave her my business card, told her what happened in the parking lot, and said if she ever needed help, she could call me. She didn't call. Not that week. Not the next week either. But Lily did. She'd gotten my number from the business card I'd given Rosa. "Glenn threw a plate at the wall last night," she texted. It was next to my head. I told her to call 911. She said her mom wouldn't press charges. She said it would only make things worse. She said she was thinking about running away. "Don't run," I texted back. "Let me help. But you have to let your mom know you're talking to me." It took another week, but Rosa finally called. She was crying. Glenn had shoved her into the refrigerator in front of Lily. She wanted out, but she had nowhere to go. She made minimum wage plus tips, and couldn't afford first and last month's rent anywhere in Charlotte. I had a 3-bedroom house. I had a guest room and an office I barely used. And I had a marriage that was about to implode anyway. "You and Lily can stay with me," I said. "No strings, no expectations, just a safe place until you figure out your next move." There was a long silence on the phone. Then Rosa said, very quietly, "Why would you do this for us?" "Because I know what it feels like when someone you trust turns out to be someone else," I said. "And because your daughter deserves to sleep at night without being afraid." They moved in on a Wednesday. Rosa brought 2 suitcases and a box of kitchen stuff.
Lily brought a backpack, a stack of library books, and a one-eyed tabby cat named Pirate that she absolutely refused to leave behind. Pirate was the ugliest cat I'd ever seen, missing an eye, half an ear chewed off, fur that looked like he'd been through a washing machine. But when Lily held him, the look on her face was pure love, and I decided right then that Pirate was welcome in my house for as long as he wanted. Claire found out that evening. She came home from work, saw the extra shoes by the door, and the cat on the couch, and her face went through about 6 expressions in 3 seconds. "Daniel," she said carefully, "who are these people?" "Friends who need a place to stay," I said. "Rosa and her daughter Lily. They're in a tough spot. You didn't think to ask me first?" That was rich, coming from her. I almost laughed. Instead I said, "I'm telling you now. They need help. I'm helping them. That's who I am." She didn't argue. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she sensed the shift in me that I wasn't the same passive, agreeable Daniel she'd been lying to for 2 years. Something had changed, and she could feel it even if she couldn't name it. Rosa and Lily settled in quickly. Rosa was a quiet, hard-working woman who cleaned the house like she was paying rent, even though I told her she didn't have to. She cooked meals that made the whole house smell like heaven: enchiladas, pozole, these incredible tamales that took her an entire Saturday to make. Lily did her homework at the kitchen table every night, and when she had questions about math or science, she'd bring them to me, and I'd sit with her and work through them. Owen loved having people around. He'd crawl over to Lily whenever she was on the floor reading and try to grab her books. She'd pick him up and read to him, doing different voices for all the characters, and he'd stare at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. Which, to a 14-month-old, she probably was. Pirate, meanwhile, had taken up permanent residence on top of the refrigerator, where he surveyed his domain like a one-eyed king. He hated everyone except Lily and, for reasons nobody could explain, me. He'd jump down and sit on my lap while I watched TV, purring like a busted engine, his single eye half closed in contentment. Ugly as sin, but loyal as gold. 3 weeks after Rosa and Lily moved in, I was ready. I sat Claire down after Owen went to bed. Rosa and Lily were in their room. The house was quiet except for Pirate doing that thing where he chases nothing down the hallway at full speed for no reason. "We need to talk," I said. She looked at me, and I saw it, that flicker of fear. She knew. Maybe not what, but she knew something was coming. "I know about Ryan," I said. "I know about the affair. I've known for 2 months." The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. "I also know Owen isn't mine. I have the DNA test results." She started to cry. "Daniel, please, I'm not finished," I said. My voice was steady. I'd rehearsed this in my truck so many times I could have done it in my sleep. I filed for divorce. Tom Kessler is handling it. You'll be served papers tomorrow at your office. "Daniel, wait, we can talk about this. We can work through." "We can't," I said. "You had 2 years to talk about it. You chose to lie instead. Every single day you chose the lie." She sobbed. She begged. She said it was a mistake, that Ryan meant nothing, that she loved me, that she'd end it, that we could go to counseling. She said everything people say when they get caught. None of it was for me. All of it was for herself. I stayed calm. I told her she could have the house. I didn't want it anymore. It had too many ghosts in the walls, and that I'd be fair about the finances. But I wanted one thing, and it was non-negotiable. "Owen," I said. "I want shared custody of Owen." She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "He's not. Daniel, you know he's not yours." "He's mine," I said. "I raised him. I'm on the birth certificate. In the eyes of the law, and in the eyes of that little boy, I'm his father. You can fight me on it, but I promise you, with what I have on you, that fight won't end well." She didn't fight me on it. Tom was right. The evidence of the affair made her lawyer advise against a contested custody battle. We settled. Shared custody. No alimony for Claire. Clean split. The divorce was final 4 months later. I found a place, a ranch house on a half-acre lot in Mint Hill, about 20 minutes east of Charlotte. 3 bedrooms, a big backyard, a detached garage I turned into a workshop. Rosa and Lily came with me. Not because they had to, but because somewhere along the way, we'd become a family. Rosa got a better job. I helped her study for her GED, and she passed on the first try, then got hired as an office assistant at a dental practice. She cried when she got the offer. "I've never had a job where I sit down," she said, laughing through tears. Lily's grades went from D's to B's in 1 semester. She joined the school's debate team because her English teacher told her she argued better than anyone in the class. "She gets that from me," Rosa said. "In my family, we argue about everything." Lily rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick. Owen adjusted the way kids do easily, because they haven't learned yet that change is supposed to be scary. He had 2 homes now, and in both of them people loved him. That's all a kid needs, really. I didn't plan on falling for Rosa. It wasn't some movie thing where I rescued her and she fell into my arms. It was slow and quiet, like a sunrise you don't notice until the whole sky is bright. It was the way she left coffee on my desk every morning before I woke up, the way she sang in Spanish while she cooked, old songs her grandmother taught her. The way she looked at me sometimes when she thought I wasn't watching, like she was still trying to figure out why I'd helped her, like she couldn't quite believe good things could happen to her. One night, about 6 months after the divorce, we were sitting on the back porch. Owen was asleep inside. Lily was in her room reading. Pirate was somewhere in the yard, probably terrorizing a squirrel. The cicadas were going crazy, the way they do in the Carolina summer, and the air smelled like honeysuckle. "Daniel," Rosa said, not looking at me. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why didn't you hate Owen? When you found out he wasn't yours?" Most men would have walked away. I thought about it for a minute. "Because love isn't about blood," I said. "Owen didn't choose any of this. He didn't ask to be born into a mess. He just needed a dad. And I was right there. Why would I let somebody else's lie take that away from both of us?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she reached over and took my hand. Her fingers were small and calloused from years of hard work, and they fit perfectly in mine. "You are the best man I have ever known," she said softly. I looked at her, she looked at me. And I kissed her. It wasn't fireworks or passion or anything dramatic, it was just right. Like finding the last piece of a puzzle you didn't know you were putting together. Lily took it well. Better than well, actually. When she saw us holding hands the next morning, she grinned and said, "Took you long enough." Then she paused. "Does this mean I have to call you Dad?" "Only if you want to," I said. She thought about it for exactly 2 seconds. "Okay, Dad." Then she grabbed a granola bar and walked out the door to the school bus like she hadn't just rearranged my entire heart. Heck now, and started calling me Dada when he was about 2. He called Rosa Roro because he couldn't get his tongue around her name, and it stuck. Lily he called Lily, and Pirate he called Pie, which Lily thought was hilarious. We got married the following spring. Small ceremony in the backyard. Tom was my best man. Lily was the maid of honor and the flower girl because she said she'd always wanted to throw petals and she wasn't going to let a technicality like her age stop her. Owen was the ring bearer, except he ate the ribbon off the pillow before the ceremony, so we improvised. Pirate sat on the porch railing and watched the whole thing with his one good eye, looking thoroughly unimpressed. Rosa wore a white dress she found at a consignment shop for $30. She looked like a queen. When she walked toward me across the grass, with Lily on one side and Owen toddling on the other, I understood something I'd never understood before. The worst thing that ever happened to me hearing those words through that kitchen door was the first step on the road that led me here, to this yard, to this woman, to these kids, to this life. After the ceremony, Lily pulled me aside. She was trying not to cry, which for a 16-year-old was basically an Olympic event. "I want to say something," she said, "and I need you to just listen and not make it weird." "I'll try," I said. "Before you, I thought all men were like Glenn, or like my real dad. I thought that's just how they were. You showed me that's not true. You showed me what a real father looks like. And because of that, someday when I'm older and I meet someone, I'll know what to look for. I'll know what I deserve. You gave me that, Daniel. You didn't just save me from Glenn. You saved me from settling for someone like him for the rest of my life." I failed at not making it weird because I started crying. She hugged me, and I held onto her like she was made of glass and steel at the same time. This fierce, fragile girl who'd been through more in 15 years than most people face in a lifetime. "You're my dad," she whispered. "Not because I have to say it, because I choose to." Last week I came home from work and Rosa was in the kitchen making tamales again. Owen was on the floor building a tower out of blocks. Pirate was on the refrigerator as usual, one eye open. Lily was at the table working on her college applications. She wants to study social work, wants to help kids like her. I stood in the doorway and watched them for a minute before they noticed me. My family, built not from blood or obligation, but from choice. Every single one of us chose this. Every single one of us looked at the broken pieces of our lives and said, "We can build something better." Rosa looked up and smiled. "You're early." "Couldn't stay away," I said. Owen ran over and wrapped himself around my leg. "Dada! I built a tower and Pi knocked it down." Pirate yawned from his perch, completely unrepentant. I picked Owen up, kissed Rosa, ruffled Lily's hair, which she hated, and I did specifically because she hated it, and sat down at the table. "So," Rosa said, setting a plate in front of me. She had that look. The one where she's about to drop something big and she's already decided how it's going to go. "I went to the doctor today." I looked at her. She smiled. "We're having a baby, Daniel." Lily screamed. Owen screamed because Lily screamed. Pirate fell off the refrigerator, which had never happened before in recorded history. I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth and tears running down my face. And I thought about that man on the bucket in the garage 2 years ago, the one whose whole world had just collapsed, the one who thought his life was over. If I could go back and talk to him, I'd say, "Brother, your life hasn't even started yet. Everything you lost was just making room for everything you're about to find." Rosa came around the table and sat in my lap. She put her arms around my neck and pressed her forehead to mine. "Scared?" she asked. "Terrified," I said. "Good," she whispered. "That means it matters." And it did. God, it did. It mattered more than anything.